The Atlas Post. Did you get a PPP loan, and are you working on your PPP loan forgiveness application? Today we're going to be talking about the Small Business Administration's Payment Protection Program loan forgiveness, confusion about Halloween dates, and the forms you should be using. And when you stay till the end, you'll discover when you need to start making loan payments. If you have a PPP loan or know someone that does, please share this video with them, smash the like button, and subscribe for the latest updates. First of all, we're going to be talking about the expiration date at the upper right hand corner of the forms. If you take a look at this form, this is the 3508 easy form, and there's an expiration date that it shows over here as of October 31st, 2020, or Halloween. It also shows up here on the 3508S form in the upper right hand corner. It also shows on the form 3508. So the first thing that you should know is, even though it says expiration date October 31st, 2020, this is not a food or something where you need to throw it out. This is not a deadline. Although it does seem to look like a deadline, it isn't. What it is that borrowers may submit a loan forgiveness application anytime before the maturity date of the loan, which is either 2 years or 5 years from the loan origination. However, if a borrower does not apply for loan forgiveness within 10 months after the last date of the borrower's loan forgiveness covered period, loan payments are no longer deferred and the borrower must begin making payments on the loan. For example, and this is by the SBA, a borrower with a covered period that ends October 30th, 2020 has until August 30th, 2021 to apply for forgiveness before loan repayment begins. The SBA placed the expiration date in the upper right-hand corner of the PPP loan forgiveness application forms to comply with the Paperwork Reduction Act. The date represents the temporary expiration date for approved use of the forms, and the SBA said, adding that once a new expiration date is approved, it will be posted on the forms. I know it's a little confusing because when we see expiration dates, we think of throwing out food. You're not alone. That created a little bit of confusion. Next, which loan forgiveness application should sole proprietors, independent contractors, or self-employed individuals with no employees complete? Now, most of us relate this to people that are gig workers, people that are self-employed, and basically people that don't normally qualify for unemployment. And this year, of course, they qualify for a PUE, or Pandemic Unemployment Assistance unemployment, or they also apply, or they also are eligible for a PPP loan. And this is for sole proprietors, independent contractors, and self-employed individuals who had no employees at the time of the PPP loan application and did not include any employee salaries in the computation of average monthly payroll in the borrower application form. Automatically qualify to use the loan forgiveness application form 3508 easy or lender equivalent and should complete that application. Even though it says that you should be using the 3508 easy form, and this was done as of October 13th by the Small Business Administration, just a few days before that, they did release a press release with the Treasury saying that the loan forgiveness form for people with loans of $50,000 or less should be using a different form than the easy form. Now, this is because the PPP has provided more than 5.2 million loans worth $525 billion. They wanted to make it just a little bit easier. And the purpose in doing this is to ease the burden on PPP lenders, allowing lenders to process forgiveness applications more swiftly. So what they did is they replaced the easy with the S to streamline the PPP loan application for many borrowers. But as you can see, since the other one was dated actually earlier in the month, or actually the Q&A came out after this form was already out, you need to be careful to take a look at, see how you qualify. Because this form, the 3508S form for simple and 350 easy for easy, were intended to streamline the PPP loan process. So use the form that applies for you. And if you can qualify for the S1, which is for people that have loans under $50,000, do that one because it's a whole lot simpler then the easy form. That's the 3508S. I'm going to go ahead and show you each of these, but first, before we do, on the guidance is eligible borrowers do not have to provide detailed calculations of forgiveness amounts, and they're exempt from deductions and forgiveness based on reductions in FTE or full-time equivalent employees or reductions in wages, and do not have to claim that a safe harbor to the statutory reductions applies. So if you take a look at it, this is the easy loan form, and they go through and tell you payroll costs, line 2, business mortgage interest payments, business utility payments, and they take you through all of these questions and of course tell you how to fill them out. But you can see some of the question information, and you provide all supporting documents, and you say that everything is true and correct. Okay, but when you go to the 3508S form, when you look at the questions that they have, remember all those questions we just looked at? They don't have all those questions. They make it much more simple, as why it's called the S form. The dollar amount for which forgiveness is requested does not exceed the principal amount of the PPP loan and was used to pay costs that are eligible for forgiveness, which is payroll costs to retain employees, business mortgage interest, business rent or lease payments, or business utility payments. And look, you just, add initial, that's it. Includes payroll costs equal to at least 60% of the forgiveness amount. Initial? If a 24-week covered period applies, does not exceed 2.5 months worth of 2019 compensation for any owner, employer, self-employed individual, general partner, capped at $20,833 per individual. And if the borrower has elected an 8-week covered period, does not exceed 8 weeks worth of 2019 compensation for any owner, employee, or self-employed individual, general partner, capped at $15,385 per individual. And yes, all you need to do is initial. I know that's a whole lot easier than filling in all of those amounts. Here, I understand that if the funds were knowingly used for unauthorized purposes, the federal government may pursue recovery of loan amounts and or civil or criminal fraud charges. Can you believe that? Okay. So look at this. That's all you have to fill out. Whereas in the other form, you have to list everything out. Yes. One of the things I'll tell you, they have been talking in the stimulus packages about opening up the PPP loans. One of the reasons people did not open these up was because of the time period in which you needed to use that, and the businesses weren't quite certain about what they were doing. They didn't want to get further into debt, and so they weren't taking out the PPP loans. And so there is still money left from the PPP loans when they cut it off. I don't know what's going to happen when the stimulus comes out again. Yes. And I don't even know if they're going to do it before the election. Who knows? We will see what happens. But there are still PPP funds. This is a whole lot easier than the last time. So if they open it up, to my understanding, they were going to open it up for people to take a second PPP loan because, well, a lot of time has passed because this was the one loan that they were supposed to have since March. And the money's running out. Let's just put it that way for a lot of the businesses. So here was the next question we had, which is, if a borrower submits a timely loan forgiveness application, does the borrower have to make any payments on the loan prior to SBA remitting the forgiveness amount, if any? As long as a borrower submits its loan forgiveness application within 10 months, 10 months, you should know by then, right? Of the completion of the covered period, the borrower is not required to make any payments until the forgiveness amount is remitted to the lender by SBA. If the loan is fully forgiven, the borrower is not responsible for any payments. If only a portion of the loan is forgiven, or if the forgiveness application is denied, any remaining balance due on the loan must be repaid by the borrower or on or before the maturity date of the loan. So you really need to try and get your loan forgiven, because otherwise you see the remaining balance is due and must be repaid by the borrower. Interest accrues during the time between the disbursement of the loan and SBA remittance of the forgiveness amount. The borrower is responsible for paying the accrued interest on any amount of the loan that is not forgiven. And of course, the lender is responsible for notifying the borrower of remittance by SBA of the loan forgiveness amount, and or that SBA determined that no amount of the loan is eligible for forgiveness, and the date on which a borrower's first payment is due, if applicable. This is the exact reason why I know people that have taken out PPP loans, if they decided to take it out, have actually put it in the bank because they weren't quite certain about how much was forgiven. Yes, they were trying to calculate what their risk was. If it's going to be forgiven, not forgiven, they would use it if they absolutely needed to. But, well, let's just say there will be many more questions coming out regarding the PPP loans. Right now, we're waiting to find out if a stimulus package will be approved before the election. So we'll see what happens between Pelosi, Mnuchin, and of course McConnell, and if they can actually get something passed. That would actually be really good. Anyway, thanks for joining us. This is the Atlas Post. Wherever you are, please do subscribe so that you can find the latest updates on PPP loans, unemployment, stimulus, and more when it comes to personal finances. And yes, we'll be expanding on that too. Thanks for supporting our channel on Patreon as well as buying me a coffee. And please remember to share, comment, follow, and subscribe wherever you are. Thanks for joining us and have a joyful day.